Why don't more infant formula companies use organic, grass-fed whole milk instead of skim? Why don't more infant formula companies use the latest breast milk science? Why don't more infant formula companies run their own clinical trials? Why don't more infant formula companies use more of the proteins found in breast milk? Why don't more infant formula companies have their own factories instead of outsourcing their manufacturing? We wondered the same thing. So we made ByHeart, a better formula for formula. Learn more at byheart.com.
This is the smell of a warm 3-day-old egg salad sandwich in a wimpy trash bag.
Wimpy, wimpy, wimpy! Blech!
And this is the smell of that same sandwich in a hefty, ultra-strong trash bag with new Fabuloso lemon scent.
Hefty, hefty, hefty!
Smell the difference? When life gives you stinky, get Hefty Ultra Strong with new Fabuloso lemon scent. It smells like clean, freshly picked lemons. So no matter what's inside your trash, you can stop the stink and smell the lemon.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast. This is Tyler from Black Diamond Softball and Fitness, and I'm bringing you a brand new episode of the Big Three from Foul Pole to Foul Pole. Today I wanted to kind of get into a couple of different topics, and they kind of all tie in together. I want to talk about experiencing failure as a young athlete and how we as parents or instructors or guardians or coaches can kind of help them understand that failure is a part of life. That's how we grow. That's how we get better. That's kind of like, how we make our decisions later on in life through experiencing failure and how we get better at doing different things. So if you are in a situation where you have someone young and they're playing sports, and it doesn't matter the sport, it could be softball. And I do a lot with softball athletes, but this could tie into any young athlete. At an 8, 9, 10-year-old age group, depending on how long they've been playing, their experiences with sports, they have good, and then they have bad, and it can be one play to the next. Of course, all kids at that young of age, they want to compete and they want to be good at whatever they're doing. With that, sometimes they're not the best on the field, and sometimes they do lose. Sometimes they'll lose a game or lose a championship or make a mistake. And at that age, man, it is the end of the world. They think that they don't want to play anymore. They may go through, I quit. If I can't be the best, then I'm going to quit. And of course, as athletes get a little bit older, into the passing through the adolescent stage, maybe into the preteen and teen, they understand they can overcome a little bit. They can take a loss a little bit easier. No one likes to lose. No one likes to not do their best. No one likes to experience failure. And that the word failure, it just has a bad connotation. And for me, I don't necessarily look at it as it's something that's inherently bad. For me, I try to tell my athletes that we have to go through some failure, and it kind of acts as like a fork in the road. We can either kind of bow down to that failure and kind of accept it and be like, all right, well, this is it. I'm not going to get any better, and I'm no longer going to do this. I'm not going to play this sport anymore. For me, I try to get athletes to understand that, hey, this right here is showing you where we need to work harder at. This is a point where we need to focus on this and get better and move around this, whether you're playing volleyball, basketball, playing football, baseball, tennis, softball. When you go, I don't like to use the word slump, but at the plate, if you've maybe gone 10 at bats and you just haven't been able to put the ball in play, you're not seeing the ball well, they're making plays on you, you just haven't been able to get on base. And you kind of take that little snapshot and you figure out, like, man, I'm really struggling. Where am I struggling at? Where's my failure at? And at that point, we can look at it and go, okay, hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm feeling. And it kind of gives us a starting point to work on it, to kind of work from this point forward. We've developed, a kink in our mechanics, or we haven't been able to put as much time in, so our body just naturally is filling in the gap here of what we think we should be doing up at the plate. And the same thing with pitchers. When we talk in softball, just can't get one over, can't throw a strike, can't command the fastball. It could be different things. The body is growing. Not only are you getting taller, but you're getting wider, you're getting stronger. It could be a test that you didn't do very well on, and you're dwelling on that. You're not able to put all of your brain energy and your focus on the task at hand with your pitching. You just can't get focused on it. You think you are, you tell yourself you are, but you're just not there. So we're going to experience failures throughout our life, and at a young age they seem like they're so big and they're just overwhelming. And then as the athlete gets a little bit older, they see that, I have to experience failure. I've got to push myself to that failure point. I've got to get to a certain point where I've pushed myself to this max, or I've pushed myself to this point. And here's kind of my my plateau at the moment. I've got to this point. This is as good as I can do right now, and I've got to get through this. I've got to push through this. And it's tough, but we need to seek out that failure. So we need to work as hard as we can to get to that point of failure and go, okay, hey, right here, this is my max rep for now. It's like lifting weights. Just for an example, you go to the gym and you've been working on bench press, and you kind of want to see where you're at. So you put 2 plates on and you're able to bench press 225. So you continue to lift weights, you continue to work out, every other day or every day for a month or so. And then you get to a point you're like, okay, let me see where my max rep is on the bench now. And now you're up to 250. And so you're there. Well, then, you think in your head, well, I can get more than that. And then you go for 255 or 260 and you can't get it up off your chest. So you failed at getting 260. But what you need to realize is at one point you were at 225. You pushed yourself and you got to 250. You can push yourself and get over that 260 mark now. You failed at this. It's kind of got you where you needed to be. It's giving you a snapshot. Okay, hey, here's my moment right here. This is where I can push through this, give it some time, work through this failure, and come back better than ever. So that next time, you put in work for a couple of months, and now you get back up there, and all of a sudden you're benching 275. So where you failed at 260, now you surpassed that. You didn't even stop at the 260. You went straight to that 275, and now you're there. So if we look at failure as just sort of a road sign, you're traveling and you say, Washington, D.C., 63 miles. It kind of just lets you know where you're at on the map. And we have, those short-term and long-term goals. You're going to fail along the way as you're trying to get to your long-term goals. Your short-term goals, you bust through your failures with your short-term goals. You'll get to a point, and I've got a goal of, getting up at 6 o'clock every day. You might meet that 4 days out of the week, but for whatever reason, that Thursday morning, you didn't get up right at 6 o'clock. You got up at 6:15. Yeah, you failed at getting up at 6, but is that failure like such a big, is it something huge? Is it overwhelming? No, it's definitely not. So when we talk about failure and we move on from it, just keep in mind that we need failure. We have to have it. We everything is kind of based off of our success, however we view that, compared to our failure. If you're trying to run a mile in under 7 minutes, either you make it under 7 minutes or you don't. It doesn't mean that you didn't run a mile. It doesn't mean that you didn't get your cardio in. It doesn't mean you didn't go out there and bust your butt. It just means that you didn't hit that 7 minute mark that you were trying for. You're not going to die because you didn't hit that 7 minute mark. So you got to be able to take good from everything. And if it's nothing more than I busted my butt or I did the best I could, or you could be on the other end of the spectrum, and it brings me to my next topic of your mindset. If you're trying to figure out where you're at, how good am I, or where do I stack up? How do I compete? And you're not given that maximum effort, you always have this safety net of, well, I didn't even try. It doesn't matter how hard I try. The coach doesn't see it, or my mom and dad doesn't see it, or, you do it for yourself. So whenever you step out there and it's competition, you've got to give everything you've got. Don't hold back. Like at practice, and you can have a good practice or a bad practice, but only you know if you gave max effort. And if you didn't give max effort, you truly don't know how good you are, or you don't know how good you could be, because you're not putting in everything that you've got at every second of that practice. Now, of course, there will be times where you're going to take a play off, or you're going to rest a little bit mid-play or something like that. And I get that. That's happened. It's human nature. It's a part of life. But if we can limit those and go, hey, I'm going to just max out right here, that becomes your new norm. That becomes your new habit. That becomes your new muscle memory of just, I'm maxing out everything I can do right here. And you might be one that takes half the plays off, or lollygags when you think nobody's looking. Well, you may think that if so-and-so sees me, then I'm only going to hurt them. But you're hurting yourself. You're setting yourself back a little bit. And, well, maybe not setting yourself back, but you're not getting as far as you should be able to get if you were to put everything into it that you can. And I want to compare it to like a test. You know that a 70% is a passing grade. So you study, but you feel comfortable with, well, I know I'll pass. I don't have to study as much. Well, you could study more and ace the test. But if you don't study at all, yeah, you may pass. But are you giving your best effort? If you want to become faster and you complain that you don't run as fast as you used to when you were younger, when you're sprinting, if you're trying to get a better, home to first or home to second time, and you don't know how your body's going to respond when you go full bore, you don't know if you're not going to be able to get any faster. Your body don't know to go any faster. But if you train to get faster, every time you give maximum effort, your body gets used to that maximum effort, and then you start finding another gear. Then you start finding another step somewhere, and you become faster because you are working at it. You are studying. You are looking up. You are working with different trainers. You are putting the work in, so you can get faster and stronger. But if you get to a point and you have this self-imposed ceiling on your work ethic, you get to a point where this is as hard as I'm going to work. I'm not going to push myself. Then eventually all of that's going to catch up to you, and you no longer have this glass ceiling where you can bust through it with hard work. Your ceiling becomes wood, it becomes metal, it becomes stone, to where you're not going to be able to bust through that ceiling. You're going to be set in your ways to where you're going to work just hard enough to get by, or just hard enough to where you think you're pleasing other people. You don't care. You don't have it inside of you to be the best athlete you can. You're looking for this other approval. And that brings me to the third point of the big three here, is we're seeking approval from others. We are weighing our success by someone else's opinion. Everyone has their own definition of success. We could break it down on the micro level and say, okay, hey, you're successful if you get X amount of questions right. If you run a mile in less than 10 minutes, it's a success. Whatever you measure your level of success by. I got up at 6:30 this morning, so it's a success. I budgeted, to save $20 out of this paycheck, and I saved my $20, so it was a success. When we get on a different level, and we're talking about success when it comes to sports, we talk about wins and losses. It's a way that I think it's common for everyone to measure success. What's a little bit more difficult to measure, because it's not something that we can actually seek out and touch. It's not tangible. Is having success with developing players, or having success in developing our own self. because there's not an inherent competition or an immediate competition between two people or two teams. At the end of the day or the end of a game, you can look at the scoreboard and see who won, who lost, or was it tied. You can't measure development and get an immediate answer. You can develop over time, and that's how you would be able to measure developing. So as coaches, we're looking at success in wins and losses. Of course, anyone says that they don't, they're lying to you, because we all look at success in a certain way with wins and losses, because that you're in a sport, you're in a competition. That's just how it is. But the coaches that focus more on developing and putting a value on that success are the ones that you want your kids to play for. As a young athlete, you want to not pay so much attention about this win or this loss, but did you get better? And measuring your success against someone else shouldn't be a focal point. And we all do it. We'll look at Game Changer, or we'll look at stats, or we'll look at tournament records and this and that, and we'll see this team beat this team, and we're looking at success from that way. But from the outside, you're just looking at it on paper. You have no idea what was going on in the game. So we can't just look at wins and losses. You don't know if they threw a pitcher that had never pitched before. You don't know just whatever scenario. I mean, you fill in the blank. You don't know what variable affected the outcome of a game. But when you're talking about development, over time, over a season, and your team becomes more competitive, you can just see we're communicating more. We're playing better as a team. It may not show up in the wins and losses. You may have stepped up in competition and you don't have any more wins. You didn't win any more games. Your record is the same average, like you're keeping the same 500 average, but you stepped up in competition. You've started playing a little bit higher level. You've jumped up an age group, but your team has gotten better, but you won't be able to measure that with wins and losses because you've jumped up in competition. And then you can look at the other teams too, or maybe you're on a team right now, or you're coaching a team right now where you're playing down as far as competition. You're not playing a high enough level schedule or competition, so you're blowing everybody out. Are you successful? I mean, maybe. Are you developing those players? Are you successful because you're undefeated, or you've won so many tournaments? Or if you're playing in like 4-team tournaments against like first-year teams and you're a second-year team, or you just the competition that you're playing, is it on your level? If you're trying to rank that as success, I don't know how many people would be on your side with that. But if you're a team that goes to these tournaments and you're constantly the underdog, but you're able to compete, you might lose the close ones, 5-1s and 5-4s, or and you might catch a blowout here and there. You might get throttled, but you're able to grow from it, and you're able to develop. You're able to teach from it. That's, to me, that's success. And it's hard to see it because, again, you're not, at the end of the day, you're not holding up that trophy. You're not, you put on your Facebook post or your Twitter post, success with an exclamation point, and you're holding that trophy. Well, all these other teams could have had a successful weekend too. It goes by, what are you measuring it by? Are you measuring success where it's something that we can carry on and we can better ourselves throughout our life? Or are you measuring that success at 14 or 15 years old by a medal that you won that you don't remember anything from it other than, I don't even remember who we played. I just remember we got this medal. Here's that medal. It's in a shoebox somewhere. It's a part of your memories. But that's how I feel about it. If we're talking about comparing ourselves to other people, and trying to figure out what level of success we're more successful than they are, they're more successful than we are. I don't like getting caught up in that. I like getting caught up in something that is not as easy to measure, so that you can develop. It's not easy to see. It gives you pride in the hard work that you've done. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you won a medal, but you played in a 4-team tournament or a little round robin. And it may make you feel good one weekend. We took a step back. We played a local tournament. We worked on some stuff. We were developing our pitchers. We did this, we did that. And then you happened to win the tournament and you developed and you had some success. But if that's who your team is every weekend, and you're not trying to develop and get the success from that, I don't think we're on the same page. At least for me, I wouldn't look at it as a success just by winning. I measure success by development. And that's kind of like my spiel on the measuring of success, because at the end of the day, we're writing our own book here. We're writing our own story. If you get down on the lowest level of developing athletes, at the end of the day, we're developing people that just happen to be athletes. And that's sort of where I'm at this point when I'm talking to young athletes, whether it's a hitting lesson or a fielding lesson, or if I'm just doing a public speaking event. I want them to come away with, a lot of times, the measurement of success gets diluted with the opinions of others. And then that kind of changes how we measure our own success. But if we get back to the lowest level of how do I measure success? How do I measure my own development as a person, as a human being in society? The sports and the athletics, that kind of is just a characteristic of me and how I measure success. But if we're looking at it in a vacuum, we're looking at it like with tunnel vision here. It's easy to say, okay, hey, that person is successful because they have this many championships or this many trophies. But when you dive deep into it, I think that it's there's more to it than that. So that's just me, and that's kind of my spiel on that. So I appreciate you guys checking this one out. This has been the Big Three from Foul Pole to Foul Pole, and this is Tyler Black with Black Diamond Softball and Fitness.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses, so don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.